Who are gonna be? Who's
Baby
gonna?
Dr. Thunderbolt.
Baby Doctor Thunderbolt. The small. He's a genius because he has his medical degree as an infant. It's impressive.
Yes. He's got a big long coat that
Drags
doesn't fit
behind him.
him.
Drags behind him when he walks.
Yeah.
Falls over a lot because he's still learning how to
Yeah.
walk.
He's a little baby.
hmm
It's understandable.
Is this the intro?
I feel like this is the show.
This is just the show now.
Yeah. This
Oh
is what it
well,
is.
We're in it.
we're in it. Hi everybody, welcome to Smark Avengers. My name is Corey, and with me is Dylan and John. Guys, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
today we are going to be touching on a very particular topic as we once more push the Charles Xavier episode off another couple of weeks. Uh,
People don't want to.
People don't want to hear us talk about a beautiful, bald, telepathic man who sometimes
No.
legs don't like to work that good. But what they are wanting us
Sometimes
to
they
talk
do.
about is what many people are calling the best Marvel movie that has been out since the Avengers Endgame, and that is Thunderbolts. Dylan, John, I know you both have seen Thunderbolts. I have not seen Thunderbolts, but I also know a lot of people who know that I don't care about spoilers and have told me about the movie. So, that being said, you guys want to talk about Thunderbolts?
For the record, me and John were not the people that told Corey all the spoilers
That
for the
is true.
Thunderbolts.
They did
Mm-hmm.
not. I informed them that I had already been spoiled on the movie by some other people.
We were courteous enough to not we didn't come out of the cinema and be like, "Oh, dude, Corey's got to hear about this." This is me texting, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's
Did
how
you
I text.
did
I
you
should. My
tickling
phones are. I could have easily done it, but
like this is you tickling a little fairy.
Baby Juggernaut. No,
Just tickling
he
Baby
tickled.
Juggernaut. And then he breaks your hands because
Yeah,
he's Baby Juggernaut.
he loved being tickled.
He does. It's so
That's his weakness.
he has a very deep
It's in the
laugh though.
comics. It's in the comics. It's all in there.
Yep. Yeah, ignore that.
So yes,
Ignore those kid Juggernaut comics that are coming out. That's not the real deal.
not canon. It's not real. Yes, we've seen the Thunderbolts. I liked it. I really liked it. John, did you like it?
Yes, I did like it.
Ooh,
There you go.
that was
Yeah.
close.
So it is kind of
Well, good everybody.
I was gonna say I feel like it is kind
Credit.
of fortuitous for us to talk about it because we first came back for volume 3 of the show. The topic we did was the Marvel Cinematic Universe and if it was possible for them to reach the heights they once did before Endgame. Because at that point, outside of Spider-Man, they were in a decline. The movies people weren't really seeing. The Disney Plus shows would happen, but I would never like you. I didn't see a lot of online buzz about any of them for the most part. Like WandaVision got a
Not
lot of people
watching.
talking, and I heard some people talk about Moon Knight just because Oscar Isaac. But for the most part, what I heard about
I had a
Secret
lot of people talk
Invasion,
with
yeah, the most part I saw like not many people talked about Hawkeye for the most part. I forgot Echo was even a show, and I saw a lot of people being really disappointed with Secret Invasion.
I didn't see a lot of people talk about Secret Invasion at all.
Yeah.
Nope. It was garbage.
Yet one of the shows that did talk
No.
about that came up in this movie was the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, which when they first announced that they were doing a Thunderbolts movie, I was surprised to see the lineup that they went with. Because these are all characters that were from other movies and other like Disney Plus shows that didn't take off. Like I remember I was talking to John. I didn't even realize this was coming out in theater. I thought this was going to be a Disney Plus thing because of how like bizarre it
Mm.
would be to do a Thunderbolts movie.
Wow, you little fifth.
Yeah, apparently.
You know,
Because you look at
you
it and
didn't
you're just
believe.
like
You
the
didn't trust
biggest. I mean, the biggest named character in this is Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Yep.
because Yelena. Do they call her White Widow, or do they even give her a code name?
They don't.
No, they just call her Yelena.
Yelena.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Yelena, she was in the Black Widow movie that came out during the COVID pandemic that was released on Disney Plus. So not many people actually saw it from what I've seen,
I didn't see it.
which is a shame because like three characters from this movie came from that one. And she also had a part in the Hawkeye show due to her past ties with
Hmm.
the Black Widow character. So John and I have talked a couple of times about Thunderbolts in the past in the lead up to this movie, and we kept talking about how like Disney lucked into having Florence Pugh because when they signed her to that multi-year contract, they were not expecting her to be as big a deal as she turned out to be.
Hmm.
Which she'd already done Midsummer at that point.
She done loads of stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Very good. She's very good.
Yes. So how do you
She was
guys want to?
Paige.
Yeah, she was Paige. Paige here. Um, that being said, how do you guys want to tackle this? Do you want to talk about it from a plot perspective? Do you want to talk about the actors? Do you want to talk about the characters? How do you want to approach this?
We'll probably just bumble our way through it like we always do.
As we
That sounds
should.
like a good plan.
Don't want to make it too structured, right? We'll just let the conversation fall where it may. Things will happen, and then it'll all come together at some point, and then the credits will roll, and then there'll be a little post-credit bit where we make a joke about Baby Juggernaut, and then there'll be another post-credit bit where we actually talk about what happens next week.
A portal will open suddenly. There's a different version of Dylan there. He's played by Michael Cera. I don't know why. I felt right. I don't know why I felt right, but it did.
I don't think Dylan's happy.
Not happy with that.
No. Well, I mean, I
No.
only
With
know that
that, though.
Jeff Bridges could
Have you
play
You know who
tried
I
to
John.
play
think I
your
kind of
alternates
look
now?
like?
Who do you think you kind
I
of look
think I
like?
kind of look like Paul.
I see it.
If you put glasses on him,
I see it.
yeah. If you put glasses on Paul Dano, yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see it.
yeah, yeah.
Can you
So
sing
I would
Ave
take him
Maria for
over.
us?
Can't sing.
Okay. Well, wait, did you ever see the Batman, or that would have gone completely over your head?
No, I haven't.
All
But
right.
I saw Love and Mercy.
Okay.
Hmm.
He sings in that.
That's good.
It is, isn't it? Oh, very good for him.
So yeah, do you like? I guess we'll take it from talking about the team composition because that's where I pointed out Marvel had. I've always been of the opinion that Marvel got really cocky after Guardians of the Galaxy because Guardians of the Galaxy was a mix of characters that nobody really had heard of and main comic book readers didn't really read because the Guardians of the Galaxy comics or the cosmic side of Marvel, the series never lasted long. Sales were never that great, so they had a couple of big storylines before then. The Annihilation War, the King's Conquest, big stuff that was written by the team of Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. And then when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, okay, that has potential to be pretty interesting. And then the movie came out, and I was like, wow, that is nothing like the Guardians of the Galaxy comics or Cosmic Marvel at all. And that's fine
Because it was
because it was
good.
really good. So I think that
Mhm.
Marvel got really cocky because they're like, hey, we made this movie with a bunch of unknown characters a hit. Let's try Eternals. And that didn't go over very well.
No.
So
No. I agree because I didn't give a shit about the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics, and I don't like a lot of space stuff.
not a
I
sci-fi
don't know
guy?
how. What,
Not a sci-fi guy?
no, well, not just sci-fi, just space stuff. I don't care. I don't like Star Wars or Star Trek or any of that stuff. I just never got into it. I don't like the comics where they go to space. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like it. But
Mm.
I remember because the Guardians of the Galaxy came out whenever Marvel films were really hot. We were going to see all the Marvel films, and I thought I'll go see this one just because I've seen all the other ones. Let's give it a go. but I don't think it's gonna be any good. And then it turned into like my favorite one
Yeah.
because it was just fucking amazing. It was such a good film, so much fun. And part of that it was probably because they took a bunch of people that nobody really knew, right? At that time, everybody knew who Captain America was and Iron Man and Thor, and you could figure out the rest. You could figure out where Black Widow fits in that, right? You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
figure
yeah.
that stuff out, but nobody really knew what the Guardians of the Galaxy were about. So they could blank slate it, right? They could literally just do whatever they wanted. Like, here it is. This is whatever we say this is what it is. And you don't come in with like preconceived notions or whatever. You're like, okay, cool. A talking
Hmm.
raccoon, a tree, and a guy that's not the Hulk, but he's big and green is different, you know. Um, and a green girl, which is different, and whatever Star Lord is, fun. There was a lot of fun there, and it was funny. It was really well written. So yeah, I think that changed people's opinions on the blank slate characters, and yeah, I think there probably was a little bit of cockiness on Marvel's part, where they're like they didn't learn the right lesson.
Yeah.
It's realizing this is a blank slate team. They were like, "Oh, people love the dumb characters. We'll do the Eternals." I'm like, "No, it's not."
To steer this back towards Thunderbolts, Thunderbolts had that same kind of build up in the background that the Avengers did, where all of these characters were introduced separately outside of the book of this large movie and then were brought together. So if you want to take a look at them individually, or do you want to take a look at them in bunches, it's up to you. Do you want to look at them like as little clusters from characters that were introduced together, or do you want to look at them piecemeal?
One thing I'd like to add on to that before we get into that
Sure.
is, but you said it's quite like the Avengers in that they were introduced separately. By the way, I haven't seen any of the stuff that introduced any of these guys except for Bucky,
Yeah.
so this was all new to
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
Um,
I was
but
gonna ask about
the way
that,
you
like,
said,
because as some, and maybe this is what you're gonna turn this into, but as somebody who didn't have any familiarity with these characters, did they do a good job of introducing them so that you didn't have to like? I'm glad I didn't have to watch Winter Soldier and Falcon to understand this guy and his motives. Like, did they do a good job of that, or did you feel like something was missing as you were watching it?
I think you got everybody's motivations pretty quick. Like,
Okay.
because I didn't know any of these guys that existed already,
Okay.
and I thought, given the way that they were put into the film, with the brief exception of Taskmaster, who just kind of appeared,
Yeah.
um, but the rest of them, like, I was happy enough with the way that the story went to feel like this was a good introduction to these guys. What I was gonna say was, to your point, it's like the Avengers where these guys were introduced and then came together. But it's also like Guardians of the Galaxy where like you have these five guys that don't work well together at all. Which is not what the Avengers was. It was these guys work together. Whereas Guardians and Thunderbolts where these guys do not work together at all, but they come together for the common goal and realize that somehow or another they're a really good team. And maybe that's just my kind of fiction,
That's fair.
but I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, John, what are your thoughts? And do you want to? Well, A, is there anything you want to add to what we were touching on earlier? And B, would you rather look at the characters individually first, or look at them as like a, a cluster?
Well, I mean, I had seen all of the like movies and TV shows and stuff that had introduced characters, so I've not really considered the movie from the point of view of someone who hasn't watched all that stuff, and this was their like introduction to those characters. So, yeah, I mean, uh, I think it worked pretty well in introducing them and making it so you don't have to have seen everything. But
Yeah.
uh, you know, it's hard to say from having you know had that experience watching them previously and
Well, this
knowing
is
a
honestly, this
little
is what I
bit more
really
about their
liked.
backgrounds and whatnot.
This is honestly why I like about the two of you having seen it already, because you're coming at it from different perspectives. John, you have all the background information because you have seen everything, but Dylan hasn't. So I'm really that's why I'm really kind of excited to see you guys talk about it. I say as I interrupt you as you're trying to talk about it.
Well, I just wanted to know where was Ghost introduced?
That would be
That
Ant-Man
was
and the Wasp
Ant-Man
2.
and the Wasp.
That's the one I didn't see.
Yep. So that's why you were not familiar with Ghost.
Correct, but I'm familiar with the character from the comics.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a different take.
The character from the comics is very, very different from the one in the MCU.
You mean she's not paranoid and doesn't bathe?
I mean, I can't say whether she bathes or not,
I
but
feel like people would remark
who
on
knows?
it. Just
Yeah.
this woman just walked through the walls and she smells like onions.
They got other stuff to worry about, you know.
True.
So there's a part in the film very early on where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them together in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's 5 very briefly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, by the way,
And-
by the way, if you're watching or listening to this, this is a month after the movie premiered. For us, it's only been a week, but for you, it's going to be like a month. So there will be, of course, spoiler talks.
So if any of this spoils the film for you, why did you watch our fucking review of the Thunderbolts before you went to see it in the cinema? You're asking for trouble, kid.
Yeah,
and
really
we
are.
have no responsibility.
Also, if they've avoided spoilers this far in as well, like
Then they get
kudos
worse,
to you.
you know?
Like, how the hell have you done that?
They don't
Jesus
have a
Christ, I
smartphone,
couldn't
they have
go
a
4 days
jitterbug.
without it.
Yeah, what are you doing, man? I love the idea of somebody avoiding spoilers and then going, I'm gonna click on this Smark Avengers who have 2 views on their Thunderbolts clip.
Hey, we've had
That's
some
pretty
pretty
good.
decent views lately.
Now we're up to 4.
Well, we're actually in our 20s. Look at us. We're old enough
Doubled
Hey.
our audience.
we're old enough to drink in my country.
It's in certain states. I mean, we've been old enough to drink for ages.
Yeah, I know. 21
But,
is here for everywhere.
So I was really excited to see Taskmaster in
Yeah.
the film. So I was like, I love the character Taskmaster. Didn't know where it fit in the Marvel universe already. That was one character I knew existed because I had heard people weren't like super hot on what Marvel had done with the Taskmaster.
Yeah.
So when I saw the Taskmaster in this, I was like, oh, cool. They're gonna try to like reboot the character and like give it a new redemption arc and try to really build it up again. And then she got shot in the head. We're like,
Like you do.
that's a shame.
So
One thing that my friend pointed out
Yes.
to me in that we see the Taskmaster. Taskmaster takes off her helmet at some point, puts the helmet back on, and then when she gets shot in the head, the mask is on. So we don't actually see. I know obviously it'd be pretty graphic to see somebody's fucking head with a bullet in it. You don't actually see that they're dead. If you know what I mean.
I mean, if you
Then
think
the
about it,
room gets incinerated, so
yeah,
Well, that is true.
yeah.
That's true.
I was
We
about
were
to
like,
say then.
maybe Taskmaster survived. Maybe not. After
Yeah,
that,
I was
but-
about to say, like, what was the helmet for then? If just
Right,
getting
yeah.
shot in the
Well,
head, like
protect
what?
your identity.
Yeah, apparently. It's important that people didn't know this random Russian woman who had been brainwashed her entire life. So that's actually a good
That was a
segue.
shame.
That's actually a pretty good segue. John, you have seen the Black Widow movie.
Mhm.
What was it about the Taskmaster character that you felt that for some reason they just decided that they didn't want to really do too much with in this movie?
Well, I don't know. It was always sort of a weird interpretation of the character because in Black Widow, they sort of played it as if it was a male character for like the bulk of the movie, and then they sort of pulled the reveal that it's actually a woman, like quite near the end. But it felt like they didn't really capitalize on having like a pretty famous actress in Olga Kurylenko as like the woman behind the mask, and didn't really give her much to do. So you figured, well, maybe they'd give her a shot in Thunderbolts instead then. And
Yeah.
like Dana says, she has one moment where the mask sort of comes off and she says one line, and then the mask comes back on, and she's dead
Then they shoot
2
her.
minutes later. It's like, wow,
What was the line?
what
It
a
was a
waste.
bit, yeah. It was a bit of a disappointment for
What wa-
me. It was a bit because I love the Taskmaster.
What was the line?
Mm.
I don't
I think
remember.
she's told Yelena that she wasn't here for her; she was here for someone else, and that was it.
Yeah, that's probably
I'm
correct.
happy to be in this movie.
Not for very
What
long
was that?
though.
No.
Well, yeah.
So so Yelena was not, or sorry, so Olga, who I believe was the Taskmaster's name, she was not the only character to join this movie from the Black Widow movie. Let's talk about Red Guardian. John,
Great character.
tell us about Red Guardian.
I mean, it's basically just David Harbour doing big, loud commentary on everything around him and being excited about everything.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, it's a
He's the
pretty
comic relief character.
funny take on the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, a lot of fun. A lot of
But then
fun.
he's got the sort of emotional connection to Yelena as well, because he was in the Black Widow movie. He was like like how do you describe it? Like a
Surrogate
sort of
father.
surrogate father. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, when they were like spies for the Russians, like, growing up in America and whatnot. The cover was they were a family, and I guess some of that sort of bled into real life as well. So he's the closest thing that she has to her father. But then they've grown distant by the time this movie starts, and they kind of have some things to resolve along the way as well. So even though he is there for comic relief, he does kind of serve a larger purpose as well.
Yeah.
So
He's the chauffeur.
and he is
Exactly.
so Red Guardian is the first of the Captain America-esque characters, considering he was Russia's answer to the Super Soldier. Let's go into our
Yeah.
third character from the Black Widow movie, which is the main character really of the movie, from what I understand, which is Yelena Belova. Is it Belova is the last name? You see names written down and you go like,
Yes.
that's probably how you pronounce that, right?
Sounds right to me.
Fair enough.
I was trying to downplay the fact that he's a Russian spy and knows exactly how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to Inglorious Bastards the situation. He unfortunately unveils his secrets. So yes, so she is played by Florence Pugh. She is front and center of the advertisements and the marketing for it. It's very clear that she is, of course, the main character. But how do you guys feel she did in the movie? What was her part in it? Again, as somebody who has not seen it, let me know what you think.
I mean, she was pretty much the main character.
Hmm.
She was great. She was really, really
Yeah.
good. She's good in everything, man. She did a really good job of having that kind of like emotional side to her where she's got that Black Widow trait where she's supposed to be all like emotionless and a killer and but she also has her own stuff going on and it all comes across like really, really well. I think she's the heart and soul of the film,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So she had not only
And she's a lot more damaged in this.
Mhm.
a lot more
Oh, sorry,
damaged.
what were you saying?
No, you go ahead. She was a lot more damaged in this.
Mhm.
Yeah, than in Black Widow when we were introduced to her, because she's obviously like lost her sister since the events of Infinity War and Endgame, and she kind of went after Hawkeye to try and get revenge for that, and you know, after that she sort of went off the rails and got recruited by um uh what's the name, Valentina.
Hmm.
And yeah, she just basically became like a sort of assassin for hire. And as you'd hope if you found yourself in that situation. It kind of doesn't like fill her with any joy and just makes her more miserable. So yeah, she's got her own void to deal with, uh, which is like a big part of like the story, I guess, compared to the Sentry and his void as well. Although his
Yeah,
is a bit more literal than hers.
but there's like a parallel, between
Yeah.
the two characters.
So we will move on from the characters that appeared in the Black Widow movie, and we will go to the character who I kind of feel is the odd one out in this, and that would be Ghost, who made her debut as the main villain of the second Ant-Man movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So thoughts on Ghost?
I like the character. I didn't think she was as central as the other characters.
No.
You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah, she
it wasn't.
wasn't like
Yeah,
there
she
wasn't
wasn't bad.
no, but it wasn't like she brought like an essential part of the plot forward or anything like that. She was
Yeah,
just sort of there.
I feel like the other members of the team had more focus put on them,
Yeah, yeah.
which you could say is maybe a slight of the film when you think of it. But at the same time, she filled the role pretty perfectly. She did what she
hmm
was supposed to do.
Okay. And then I believe the final member rounding out the team from the Winter Soldier or the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, the failed Captain America U.S. agent, John Walker.
That guy was awesome. I didn't know he was already in the thing. I had no idea. Thought this was the first time we'd seen him, and I'm like, I love this guy. What a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a prick. Just like he played to him perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody wanted to punch him in the mouth. You know what I mean?
He
So
was a lot more funny in this compared to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. Like that was a lot more serious and I guess grounded, whereas this he got to cut loose a bit more Wyatt Russell, and it was definitely more enjoyable because of that.
It was
yeah,
a treat.
yeah, John
Yeah.
and I have talked about how we're fans of Wyatt Russell, so I was happy to hear that he was very well received in this. So anyway, the U.S. agent character is one of my favorites, and I heard that the character was much more like the comic book version in this, and I was excited to hear that. I just enjoy a character
He was
who's
a
an
real
unrepentant, just he's not about trying to get you to like him. He's here to do one thing,
yeah.
and that was nice.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
All right,
I
so
enjoyed it. I enjoyed that character a lot.
I heard a lot, like I said, I heard a lot of people coming out of that really liking the character, which is to the point that a lot of people are debating whether or not his actions in the Falcon and Winter Soldier were really all that bad. John, would you like to tell Dylan what John Walker did in Captain America and the Falcon and Winter Soldier show that was really bad?
Well, he used his shield to decapitate a guy he thought was a terrorist, but I think turned out wasn't a terrorist. And it ended up being like shown or like captured on video and then shown all over the place. So yeah, it was quite a public ordeal for Captain
Still
America to be involved in.
People are
still
really,
sounds like he's representing America pretty well.
yeah, people are justifying his actions online after watching Thunderbolts and really liking it. They're like, you know what? I could see why he did that, and it's not his fault.
Bingo. That's what I mean. Americans can justify terrible attitude. That oh, it's all right. Don't worry. There's a reason why he's an asshole. And because they empathize with it.
Yeah.
They're also divorced.
So, sorry. Um, of course, we're gonna go to let's talk about the woman who is responsible for bringing all these characters together in the roundabout way that she does, and that is the her name is Valentina. I can't remember her last name, but she's played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
All I remember is it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she was a treasure. She always is,
Yes.
but
hmm
she was a treat. She was great. She was so good.
She is in full-on Veep mode,
Yeah, just
except with
bitch ass.
100% less swearing.
Well, yes, correct.
That's really funny to
Literally
say that
100% less.
the movie that features like big explosions and death and stuff is the one where she's not going to swear.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
What?
to be fair though, I say that, but there was a lot of swearing in this, I thought, compared to most
Not,
Marvel movies.
not
Like
from
a
her
lot of
though.
like, well, I
Was there?
could have sworn she said shit a few times, but
Well, I
everyone
mean,
did. It seemed
you could
like.
you could see why,
yeah, with the
given the
circumstances being
circumstances.
what they were.
I would have said shit if some of that stuff happened to me.
Yeah,
You know.
maybe
so
something a bit stronger.
so basically, from what I gathered,
Yeah.
she plays she's seemingly a less competent version of Amanda Waller from DC. Where like
Well,
Amanda
what
Waller is
happens in the
very
film?
calm and directed and very stern and is always in control, and she is kind of like constantly reactionary and spinning things to be like, actually, no, this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, because in the film she tries to kill four of them
Hmm.
because they know what she's up to. So she's like, the best way to avoid prison for me is to kill these people that know what I'm up to and have them kill each
Hmm.
other and get them trapped in the base and they'll just die and I won't have to worry about it. So at first she's not at all trying to bring together a team.
Hmm.
She's trying to kill all of them.
Yes, the
And
exact
then
opposite of bringing together a
she
team.
realizes exactly. Then she realizes that in trying to kill all of them, there is another person trapped in the room with them, which nobody had accounted for. Just some random guy called Bob, and they're like, "Who's this guy? Why is he there?" Nobody knows why that guy was there, and then they learn why that guy was there is because he was the only survivor of the Sentry experiments to try and create their own version of a super soldier, like the most perfect person there is. And they were like, well, all the Sentry experiments died. So you could see the little cogs going in her head where she's like, well, if all of the Sentry experiments died and he's down there, that means he survived, which means he's a Sentry. Which was fun to watch, you know. You can see the whole thing kind of unraveling
Hmm.
as you go through it, which is good. You you,
Mm.
you know sometimes films they let the audience in on the joke and then you watch the other people in the film figure it out. Um but for a lot of this you kind of like you're picking it up at the same time some of the people in the film pick it up too, which I liked.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't immediately as soon as you saw Bob, you didn't immediately go, that's a Sentry. You know what I mean? Like it takes a little bit of exposition before you get there. You know?
So to give some background into Sentry, Sentry is the only character that did not appear in any other films that I'm aware of in this. This was his debut. The Sentry is a newer character by Marvel standards, and that came about in the 2000s. He is, again, in
Mhm.
Marvel's sort of pastiche of Superman, for all intents and purposes. And I remember when they were filming it, and one of the photos that leaked was a picture of the Sentry logo on a belt. And I went, oh, that will be very
Mhm.
interesting to see Marvel try to do the Sentry. Because when they introduced Sentry, they did that weird thing that Marvel likes to do where it's like, actually, the Sentry has always been around. People just forgot he was there.
Mm.
Yes.
So, before we kind of get into, is it Lewis Pullman who played him, Bill Pullman's kid?
Yes.
So,
A lot of famous actors' kids in this film, huh?
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, before we get
Hmm.
into Lewis Pullman as the Sentry, um, I feel like most people, when they think of Sentry, they think of the villain, like the villainous aspect of him as basically the guy who from Siege who ripped Ares in half. That's how I always think of Sentry.
Yep.
But
Good.
Hmm.
Who gives a shit about Ares?
complicated character Sentry. Bob Reynolds, someone plagued with a lot of power and a lot of mental illness, and was the perfect person for Norman Osborn to manipulate as part of Dark Avengers. Our namesake. So, what are your thoughts on the Sentry character before we dive into the portrayal of the character?
The actual comic
Yeah,
character.
like from what you've read, what have you thought about the Sentry character?
I wasn't super into it at first because I don't really like that Superman kind of character. You know, just like this big, like I'm invincible and you can't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like the he was here the entire time kind of thing. So like that sucks. Um,
Mm.
it was fun the way they did it. I didn't like it. Just not a fan. I don't like that gimmick at all, honestly. I do like the idea of this Superman character having a very clear weakness, which is himself.
Yeah,
And so he can be incredibly good and also incredibly evil, and you don't know what you're gonna get until you get it. Like that adds a lot of fun stuff to that character, I thought. Um, but I was never really like a huge Sentry fan, really.
John, what are your
You know,
thoughts?
because there is a lot of stuff you can do where you can like, oh, he can just win. There you go. How do we
Well,
win this? Oh, Sentry.
I mean, very famously,
So
his debut was taking Carnage into space and ripping him in half.
why do you think
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not a big Sentry
Yeah.
fan?
so, so John, what were your thoughts on Sentry?
I mean, my experience with them is pretty much limited just to the Avengers and like Dark Avengers. So I mean, I kind of enjoyed him from the role he played in that, and like you say, getting manipulated by Norman Osborn, having that darker side to him as well, and like the Void, like always there, sort of the the devil behind the door, like waiting to be let in and stuff. I mean, that kind of was an interesting dynamic. But he's a character who, since Dark Avengers, really hasn't done a whole lot of anything. Um, so I mean, maybe he's not that memorable.
He died, didn't
Is he
he?
still dead? Because I
No, they
think
brought it.
I.
They
No,
brought him back, but like
Bob is around. There was a mini
he died for
series.
like a long time, right?
Yeah, there was a mini series where
Yeah,
Bob was existing and then like found out that he could visit this parallel world of the Sentry. And then he merged the Sentry with the Void to be this sort of perfected version. And then I think he turned up again in another series. So I'm not really sure what they're doing with Sentry right now per se, but they've definitely used him since Siege.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
really surprised to see they were going to do a movie version of the Sentry, to be honest with you, just because of
Yeah.
it's an interesting idea. The idea of like, because I remember like the the elevator pitch of the Sentry is it's Superman, but for every good thing he does, there is an evil version of himself that will do something horrific in response, like constantly in balance.
Right. Well, did you guys think this whenever they announced the Sentry was going to be in the film? Did we all three of us kind of go, he's going to be the bad guy?
Oh yeah,
hmm
yeah. For
Yeah,
some reason, it just
straight
seems
away.
even when it's even though Sentry himself, like Bob Reynolds is a good person. He's just very damaged. But you,
Yeah.
when I think of Sentry, I think of the Void and the Void being the villain.
Yeah.
Because even in
Yes,
the
I think all
Avengers,
three of
like
us were like,
yeah, even in the
he's going to be the
Avengers
bad
when they
guy.
introduced that aspect of the Void, it became very like obvious, a very obvious thing of like there's this dark cloud hanging over the team now, and it's Bob. Like we don't know when
hmm
Yeah,
Bob's gonna lose his shit, but it could happen any day.
I did.
So, all right, to hop back into the movie itself, what were your thoughts of Lewis Pullman as Bob?
He was good. He seemed, um, I think the comic version of Bob is much older.
Yes.
He seemed very young and naive, whereas the comic one is a lot more. He's like a middle aged kind of, just a dude. Um, but I think they did a good job of explaining that character and like his issues.
Yeah.
You
I think in this he had like a backstory of being an addict as well. And then that's kind of how he ended up getting like pulled into the experiment to try and create the Sentry. Yeah, I thought Lewis Pillman did a really good job of
Yep.
portraying like both sides of the Sentry and the Void, and Bob, I guess, as well. Like, you know, he played the damage part of it pretty well, but was also pretty funny as well, bouncing off the other members of the team. So yeah, it was good casting.
Yeah, it worked. It wasn't what I expected, but it worked.
Hmm.
You know, oddly enough, the one character I forgot to even mention or go into detail about is the character who's been seen the most, and maybe that's why, but Winter Soldier in Bucky Barnes.
I,
S
I assumed that was done on purpose because he was the most well known. That you were like, we don't need to
Hmm.
talk about this guy.
I
Everybody
mean, I
knows
almost feel like we
fucking
don't need to talk
Hemlock.
about him, but Bucky is in a very weird place in this movie, from what I've gathered.
Yeah, he's a congressman for some reason, which I don't know why they've done that because, one, he's got a pretty shady
Yeah,
history of killing lots of people,
certainly.
and,
A long time.
I'm not sure who's voting for that guy. But then, like, I don't think him being a congressman actually adds anything to the story. Like, he could have played the exact same role without being a congressman in this. So,
I saw
yeah,
But
what was the
somebody.
how
point?
do you
Go ahead, Dylan.
put him into like the specific point of him like going against Julia and him like getting in contact with like the other Thunderbolts and stuff? That all ties in really well because he is like tight and involved with like being a congressman. I'm sure you could tell it another way, but like it seems like a really easy way to like tie those threads together.
He could
I
have been,
Again,
like, drafted into the CIA, which he was, in charge of, and then he could have, you know, been against all this stuff that she was doing and trying to bring her down from the inside. That would have made, I guess, more sense than him being elected to Congress.
isn't him like elected to Congress trying to take somebody down from the inside as well?
But yeah, it's a bit less public though if he's a part of the CIA.
the
I agree that
theory.
it's a bit out of nowhere where like this fucking notorious murderer is like, but then again, it's American politics, so that all got glossed over with no issue
Mm,
whatsoever.
The theory.
Criminal, I need to come.
The theory
Doors
that
wide open.
the theory that I saw was that this was Bucky Barnes trying to take like the Steve Rogers approach to life in that, like, what's the most good I could do for the most people, and in it was a decision of like, I'll go into politics and I will try to represent, the American people because I have a unique perspective in that I've saved the fucking world. um because
Mhm.
he obviously did not want to be Captain America. He let that go to Sam Wilson, who I'm always curious where things line up in the timeline. Like, while this is going on, is Sam Wilson like fighting the Red Hulk around the cherry blossoms in DC as this is happening? I don't know, because it's one of those
no,
things
they
where
sort of mentioned they
They did
mentioned
mention
the
that.
ex-president turning into
the
Red Hulk. So
ex-president.
not only did that happen before,
Hmm.
yeah, like, I mean, Bob Ross must have, either been kicked out of the office or lost an election.
So I would imagine he was impeached. It's kind of hard to keep a guy like that in
Twice.
office. Yeah, right. Um, yeah, no, he'll
A
just
bit
turn into a
harsh. It
giant red
wasn't his
monster.
fault. He didn't
It's a bit harsh to feature.
didn't decide to turn into a Hulk.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
it
don't
wasn't
want to
his
be. You don't
fault.
want him to go into like, oh, we need to go negotiate tariffs with the Chinese government. He just turns into a red monster. Seems like a bad idea.
It listened to him though.
Would
They'd
they
be like,
listen
all
to him?
right, maybe we'll negotiate. Well, I'm not gonna. At first, I thought he was an idiot, but now he's a fucking monster. I'm like,
And an
hey,
idiot.
whoa,
So
I'll negotiate.
so what was
So
uh so what was Sam Wilson's excuse for not helping out with the Void?
Sam Milton wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying. What was his excuse? He's got wings. He could have flown over there.
Oh, he was. He's asleep.
Tell me that.
Well, they sort of hint in post credit scene that he's up to his own thing at the moment.
Yeah,
Putting
yeah.
together his own Avengers team.
God,
Mm.
I'm like thinking what the lineups for that team's gonna look like, and it doesn't look great. To be honest with you. Not
I
ton.
mean, I don't know. Like, just from the like people they've announced for Avengers Doomsday, you can sort of fill in the gaps and
All right, but no,
predict
no. What
who
I'm what
might
I'm
be
what
on
I'm
that
saying.
team.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like if you look at it from this, so of course the big reveal at the end is Julia Louis-Dreyfus pulling it out of her ass like, oh no, this is the new Avengers. Um, Sam Wilson's Avengers. Tony Stark's dead. Steve Rogers is a 90-year-old man. Thor is playing Space Dad somewhere. Your heavy hitters are like you still have Hulk and She-Hulk, but I don't know what Hulk's doing. He's like, what is Hulk doing, John? I imagine they did something. They mentioned that in the She-Hulk show.
Yeah, he was. What was he doing?
Mm.
Something.
They got Ant-Man.
There you go. Mm.
They got Ant-Man. Doctor Strange is still around, so you got a magic guy.
I got Shang-Chi.
Yep. His 10 rings.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Black Panther.
Yep.
It's not the most
Shuri.
exciting lineup on paper when you think about it.
No,
Like, are
when
you
you
gonna
write
go
it down
see an
like
Avengers
that,
movie with that particular lineup? And I just don't know if I do. But that's why they're doing a multiverse thing where it's like, oh, but the X-Men are gonna be there, and we'll have the
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Fantastic Four. They'll
So
be
you
there
have
too, I'm sure.
you have that whole like it's not the film based on them.
Yeah.
It's like the film they're in it, but the other teams are going to be there. The much more interesting team of the new Avengers are going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's going to suck if your Avengers team, by the way, is a new Avengers team. I think it's upstarted by the new Avengers who, by all accounts, have just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, these guys, this guy, fucking U.S. agents beating me up. Come on, man, this
Angry
is
asshole
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, and then funny fat
yeah.
Russian Captain America, and then there's robot
I'm
arm
really like
Captain
that
America.
guy. Yeah. He's better than we are. Like,
That team has 3 Captain Americas, for God's sake.
and they're all great. That's it. Like, imagine being the real Captain America, finally being the Captain America, and then being upstaged by 3 people that aren't Captain America but are.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? That's gonna suck, dude.
I did see someone like they
That's
were
gonna
like
suck.
talking about like, man, Sam Wilson would not have been really good against the Void because a lot of his motivational speeches were like, you got to do better. And it's like that's probably what you shouldn't say to a guy having a nervous breakdown and also turning the world into a hellscape at the same time.
Well, that's why White Widow does such a good job
Yeah.
because she was able to empathize with him and understood where he was coming from. I thought the way they did the Void
Oh yeah, that was good
on.
done.
So I guess all 3 of us were probably like the Void on screen. Like, how are they gonna do that? How are they gonna make it work? I thought the way they did the Void was really well done.
Mm.
Really well done. I really enjoyed it. There's a bit at the beginning whenever the White Widow is in the hideout to try to find to destroy the incriminating evidence, and she picks up some photos, and one of the photos is just of like a black shadow. It looks kind of like a blurry, like out of focus. You know, like as if it's like somebody running away, but like in really like low light or whatever. I'm like, why would somebody take a picture of that and then save it? Like that's a weird thing to see. And then later on in the film, when the Void comes out, he just starts turning people into like shadows. He just evaporates them and turns them into shadows. And then you realize that the photo at the beginning of the film is a photo of the Void turning people into shadows. And I'm like, oh, whoa, that's really good. Like foreshadowing, pardon the pun. But like you only kind of you look back and go, oh, that's really smart.
Mm.
I love the way they did that because it also makes a lot of sense. Like the Void doesn't just take over the city; he turns the people in the city into the darkness, and that's the darkness that like engulfs the city. I thought that was really well done. Um, I really like that whole the way when you see the Void, you can just about see like the shine in his eyes, and the rest of him is like total darkness. I love
Yeah.
that. I thought that all
Mm.
came across really, really well. You
Yeah,
know
because like the Void in
I
the
think it was almost
comics.
too subtle, the eyes.
Oh yeah.
what?
I thought the eyes were almost too subtle.
So John,
Like they should have been like glaring red or something.
No,
how would
I don't
you
think
have?
so. I like the way they did it.
So in the comics, the Void is usually depicted as having sort of like almost like crab legs, essentially. Like they're very arachnid looking like appendages that are coming from like the black shadows.
Yeah, he's not strictly humanoid and
No,
shit.
no, no. He's
Whereas this was the Sentry, but just all black.
yeah.
Mm.
Did you like? It felt very subtle in comparison to obviously the comic book depiction of him as a weird, arachnid-esque shadow monster.
I'm pretty sure he has tentacles in the comics as well, but
Yeah.
there was definitely none of that. Yeah, but yeah, like Dana said, I think the visual representation they went for worked pretty damn well.
Hmm.
Right. I think in the comics they try to make it clear that he's different from the Sentry by making him look like a monster.
Yeah.
Because the Sentry is human and then the Void's a monster. But the way they did it in the film is that they're just like the same side of it. They're different sides of the same coin. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is
Yeah.
just literally his bad side. But it seemed to work really, really well. It wasn't like because they could have just made him a big, giant, crazy ass monster that eats the whole city. But they didn't. They just made him a dude. There's something like way scarier about that, where
Mm.
he's just like really slow and brooding, and he's not beating people up. He's
Yeah.
not chasing after people. He's just there. You know what I mean? Like everybody can
Ominous.
see him. He's a threat. Yeah, it is. It's so like it is unnerving. It really is. I think they did a good job of building to that. So all the way through the film, you see Bob having like crisis of confidence. He doesn't know why he's there. He's not sure he should be with the other guys. He wants to be left in the incinerator. Like even when they bring him up to the top, he's like, I don't feel like I'm helping. I'm a hindrance more than a help. He gets really confused as to who he should help. Whenever the Thunderbolts come to beat up Julia Louis Dreyfus, Sanchi comes down to protect her. He's clearly conflicted about that. You can see him building up like his confusion and you've seen his like his own like clear uh what's the way to put it, his own like lack of self-esteem. No, he doesn't know who to trust. You can see the cent or the Void like all the way through it. You can see like the Sentry turning into the Void because of the way they kind of built him up. You can see that he's got this mental like instability all the way through it till you get to that point. Because I think there's no point where you go, why did he become a bad guy? Like you can see it happen.
Mm.
I think that was also well done. You know.
I think they've left it in a really interesting position as well, where like he can't use his powers without risking turning into the void again.
Mhm.
Which means that obviously, come Doomsday or maybe the whatever comes after that, like he's gonna obviously come up against that threat, which is serious enough where he's gonna have to try and use his powers and then, like run the risk of turning into the void again. So, yeah, it's like I think it was a good character arc, and it's set him up for something potentially interesting in the future as well.
I think that sets up like a really interesting dynamic for like Doomsday and Secret Wars because you're like it would be so easy to just go, oh, we'll just get the Sentry to do it, but now they can't because you don't know what's gonna happen if he does do that. And like, well, what if that plays into it? What if in Doomsday Doctor Doom takes control of the Sentry, and that leads to Secret Wars. That's one of the hooks to that. He uses the Sentry's power somehow with the Void's power to you remember like in Secret Wars he took, is it the Molecule Man? Whose powers did
Probably.
Yes, I
Molecule
believe
Man
it was
sounds like the right person
Molecule
for that.
Man.
Yeah, so like, what if Doctor Doom in this like takes control or finds a way to manipulate the Sentry and the Void? That's how they work it. I don't know if that's what's gonna happen, obviously, but like, they've set up the fact that like he can't just be the Sentry all the time,
I
which
was
I
gonna
like.
say, like, that was the big part of Dark Avengers that was always in the background, was like, how's Bob doing? Is Bob doing okay? Because we can't have Bob going off the fucking deep end, because we don't know what's gonna happen if Bob does that. Meanwhile, you had Norman Osborn secretly also dealing with that same problem, but hiding under, arrogance.
He does that a lot.
Yeah, he does. Good old
Mhm.
Iron Patriot.
He,
So yeah, I mean, all in all, like overall, what did you like about the movie? Was there anything that you feel like they could have done better? John, we'll start with you.
um. Okay, I'll sit back.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like the plot was a little bit basic, but I think it worked for what it was because it was more about the characters rather than them like jet setting across the globe or whatever, and like going from one action set piece to the next. There was something, even though there was like, still plenty of action as you'd expect from a superhero movie, it felt like it was more character driven. So, you know, even though the plot didn't feel like there was a lot to it, it still kind of ticked the right boxes and felt justified being what it was. I mean, I guess if there was one thing I wish they could have squeezed in, but I'm not sure how he would have fit into the story. Like, just for history's sake, I would have loved it if Baron Zemo had made an appearance just because of his, connection to the Thunderbolts in the comics and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but like I say, I don't know where he would have fit into the story. Like the team is basically a bunch of guys who are just soldiers anyway, with like not a lot in the way of powers,
Yeah.
and he would have just been yet another one of those kind of characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
Ol Helmut Zemo. I was gonna
It's a very good
say,
accent.
well, thank you. I was going to say that the original Thunderbolts, of course, came about during the, what was it, the Heroes Reborn era, or right before the Heroes Reborn era of Marvel,
Yeah.
where
Hmm.
basically a new team of heroes arrived and saved the day, and then it was revealed that they were actually all villains who had assumed new identities to fill the void of the heroes being gone to secretly, still push along their nefarious plots. So I think whenever people first saw the idea of doing a Thunderbolts movie, I think there was that idea that this was going to be something like that it was going to be characters pretending to be other people. And then, of course, it didn't happen
Yeah.
because they didn't really need to do that. I mean, essentially, these were all characters that had a villainous aspect to them that were put in a position where they weren't necessarily needing to be villains anymore.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like that's the same kind of deal. It's not that they're villains pretending to be a new superhero team, but it's clearly like people who villainous tendencies come together to form a team reluctantly.
Yeah.
But it still works, it's a still similar idea.
Hmm.
So, Dylan, was there anything that you wish they could have done a little differently?
I would have liked more Taskmaster,
Yeah.
really. I think that would have been a fun part of it.
Now,
Um,
here's a weird thing. Would you have, so knowing what Well, I guess the thing is, what do you know about the Taskmaster that was in the movie from the Black Widow movie?
So all I know is that people weren't happy with it.
Okay. John, do you want to give just a quick rundown of what this character was? Because I know you had mentioned, like, in the Black Widow movie it was hinted that it was a man, but then revealed that it was a woman. But what was the general vibe of this Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie?
Mm, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of character to it, really. It was just sort of this dangerous assassin kind of, you know, doing the business of the Red Room. But because there was that mystery over the identity, like it wasn't as if Taskmaster was speaking or showing much in the way of character. So it felt like it was just a blank slate, like the whole way through.
So it would have been a pretty big departure for that character to suddenly take on the more loudmouth, wisecracking personality of the Taskmaster that we love and adore so much. But do you think they could have pulled that off, that kind of shift, but she's Russian?
Everybody else is.
Yeah.
Mm, I mean, it would have been weird just considering how sort of violent and, like stoic he was in Black Widow to suddenly develop like that kind of personality for this. But I mean, there was so much room for growth with the character and to expand on what they'd set up previously. But yeah,
So
obviously that never really happens.
I saw some rumors about some original drafts of the script. I heard the original pitch that the Sentry was not involved, but it was Valentina tricking John Walker into becoming the new Abomination by telling him that his super soldier serum was degenerating him and basically like trying to create her own Hulk. That was an idea that I saw was floated around as the initial pitch, with the team coming together to fight this new abomination. The other thing that I saw was that they made the decision to kill off Taskmaster quickly to establish that anything can happen to any of these characters at any time to help build up stakes, but that some early drafts of the film had her forming a relationship or like a sisterly bond almost with Ghost, which would have solved the problem that Dylan had pointed out earlier that Ghost didn't really have a lot to do. So it is funny that they went
Right.
from like these two are going to bond over their like trauma and being used and manipulated and stuff to she's going to shoot her in the head.
Wow, we go through that struggle on a daily basis, don't we?
Yeah.
Um, I would have liked that better. I don't like the Abomination storyline.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have worked. But
Yeah.
that Taskmaster and Ghost having a thing, like some kind of like friendship, reluctant friendship, that I think would have worked. I like that.
So yeah, like I said, that was just some rumors. I don't know if it's true or not. I did see
Yeah.
apparently the writer did confirm that the decision was to kill Taskmaster early to establish that anything could happen at any time. But
I mean, I get that because you did feel like you're like, whoa, because I didn't expect it. Whoa, Taskmaster's dead. But I also, A, you didn't really think any of those other guys were gonna die. And B, it's one of those like this isn't Taskmaster should be able to see that coming, right?
I mean, the whole gimmick
It's a
being that
Taskmaster.
yeah, I mean, well, the comic book Taskmaster, I don't know if it works the same way. Was photographic memory. They could watch how someone fights and then mimic it. So you have a because
They
that
would
was
know
what
that
made
they
Taskmaster such a
what's
fun
going.
villain because he could fight. He could fight like Captain America. He could fight like Hawkeye. He could fight like Spider-Man. He was capable of doing it all,
Yeah.
minus the powers aspect
So
of
I
it.
felt that was a bit Darwin-esque. You know what I mean?
It was Darwin-esque, wasn't it? We're gonna lose some people on that
Can we
one.
make that a phrase?
I feel like we should,
Can we make
but
that
we
a
should
phrase?
Mm,
explain it first in case people don't know what we're talking about.
Did we not explain that in the X-Men one we did?
I feel like we
do a
did,
big
but it was
rundown of
over.
the
It was well over a year ago. So the expression comes from Darwin, a mutant character who has the ability to adapt at a moment's notice to survive anything, was killed off in X-Men First Class in a very anticlimactic way. When it's like your whole powers are to survive anything. I don't know what happened that you turned into ash.
Correct. His literal power is to get out of any situation. So if there was a situation that would have like it happens subconsciously.
Yeah.
So if there
He
was
has no
something,
control
'cause he
over
doesn't
it.
know he doesn't do it on purpose. Correct. He doesn't know what's gonna happen. He just something happens and he gets away from it. So for him to just die, you'd be like, well, he didn't. He would have. His body would have. The whole point of that character. The thing that annoyed me about that was because they just killed Darwin off, couldn't they have used literally any of the other 4,000 X-Men characters to fill that role?
Yeah.
There's no reason Darwin had to be that guy.
Yeah.
It flies in the face of what he's supposed to do.
Well, yeah, because even then, like, if Darwin's in a no-win situation, like, let's say that there's an army of, like, demons coming at him and no hope to survive, his body's just going to teleport him away. Because, again,
Teleports away.
exactly, his body is on autopilot all the time to make sure he stays safe. So it does make no sense.
Right. No. So that's the thing with Taskmaster, is that because he can adapt to other people's fighting styles, he would have surely known that the person that shot him in the head has the capabilities and willingness to be able to possibly shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Or shoot her in the head, I should say.
I
The
mean,
one in the film
Taskmaster has gone toe to toe with Deadpool on numerous occasions, and I mean the fact that he
A
can
lot of
survive Deadpool is amazing in of itself because Deadpool is unhinged and unpredictable, which says a lot about his ability to read body language and figure shit out very quickly.
Correct.
I don't know, John, are we
So that
hyping
was
up
a bit of a
Taskmaster too
disappointment.
much?
No, I think Taskmaster in the comics is a character who can pretty much go toe to toe with anyone, hero or villain alike. And yeah, we have definitely not seen that side of them in the movies. So
You
yeah,
know,
it's a bit disappointing that.
it almost feels like they, like, going back to that Black Widow movie, they could have used any other character for that role. Any
Right.
other
Yeah.
character would have probably sufficed. Didn't have to be Taskmaster. But,
Mm-hmm.
well, here we are. So, really, any thoughts that you would like? Any remaining thoughts on Thunderbolts before we wrap it up? Where are you excited to see this team go?
I really liked it. I really liked the casting of all the characters. Like I said, I hadn't seen these guys before. I didn't know they existed. I thought the casting of all of them was great. Like they all did what they were supposed to do. They all did it really well. Super happy to see Julia Louis-Dreyfus because she is amazing. I really liked it. I really liked that film. It was a lot of fun. You know.
Yep. Agreed. Very funny as well in places. And
Well, I think we should say the first half very funny. Second half, bit of a
I mean,
downer.
yeah. There's not as much to joke about in the second half, I guess. But
The second half is very real for some people. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh
yeah.
man, oh my god.
But even then, you still have David Harbour, like, bringing some laughs to the
True.
proceedings, I
Yes.
guess. But
True.
and also like the post credit scene as well is obviously.
I mean, let's talk about it.
Starting to.
We have 2 post-credit scenes. We already warned people about spoilers. The movie's a month old at this point. Let's talk about post-credit scenes. We did talk about the one with Captain America.
All the way through the film, the Red Guardian is trying to tell people that they should be in the team. Because then, if they're in the team, they can be like, they can be on the Wheaties box. Like it's a celebrity thing in America.
Yeah.
You be on the Wheaties box. The first post-credit scene is him in supermarket, and a woman's up by the cereal aisle, and he goes, "Oh, you like the Wheaties, right? You want cereal? Look at this one." He picks up a box of Wheaties, and he's kind of like holding it against his head, and he's like, you want cereal?" And she's like, "Oh, sure," and she kind of like throws it away. But he's so proud to be on the Wheaties box. and that was just a wonderful, wonderful moment.
Mhm.
And the next
And
post-credit
then
scene.
the second post-credit scene was a year after, well, I think slightly more than a year after the new Avengers formed, living in Avengers Tower, then hinting at Sam Wilson going after the Avengers name and putting together his own team. And then, something hits on the radar. There's something happening in space. They go to take a closer look, and what is it? It's an extra dimensional spaceship has showed up with the
What?
Fantastic the Fantastic Four.
Oh, god damn it! Don't you hate it when that happens?
Oh God, the
It was a
Fantastic Four.
fantastic, like, tiling all the way. It was just beautiful stuff.
Beautiful. The
Unbelievable.
grouting. Oh my
Oh,
God.
so good. Perfectly balanced, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, yeah, so it's obviously, setting stuff up for Avengers Doomsday and kind of getting us excited for the Fantastic Four movie, which comes out in late July. So, hell yeah.
There you go. So, I know that we're talking about. We should probably we need to get it on the schedule because we talked about wanting to do a watch along to the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie around the time of the Fantastic Four movie coming out. We are probably getting really close to that happening schedule wise.
Probably gonna have to straight.
I want to say that at this point we're middle of June.
I.
If you're
Yes,
listening to this, if
probably.
it's the middle of June, let me know. So we
Yeah,
should
middle of June
probably
sounds alright.
so we should probably get on that at some point soon. Is watching the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which I have seen. I saw actually in a movie theater, which is fantastic. Um, John,
Fantastic Floor, you mean?
it was a Fantastic Four. John, you've seen it, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Dylan, I don't think you have, and I think you're in for a treat.
I have seen select parts of it
Are you?
because me and my friend used to joke about this all the time. I think there was a trailer for it. I don't know if it was a trailer or it was like a fan made like cut of some of the best bits. But we've seen select parts of that film. They made us laugh a lot. The stretchy arm is beautiful stuff. The Invisible Woman, just like, one of those beautiful cuts where they're like, "We're guards," and then like a clear cut, and then they're like, "Where'd she go?" Shit like that. Oh, magical.
There you go.
I haven't seen the whole film, but I've seen clips.
Well, I am very much looking forward to watching that with you two, and I look forward to watching it with the rest of you as well. But that's going to be everything for us today. If you have seen Thunderbolts, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. If you've not seen Thunderbolts, uh, with how successful it's been, it's probably
So
still in
what
the theater. Yeah. So by all
the fuck you
means,
watching this for?
yeah, right. Weirdly confusing. Dylan, do you have anything you want
Rock
to
goes
promote?
on. I guess I should promote the radio show.
You should.
Um, I do a radio show. It's a local show, so you can listen to it on the radio if you want. But because it's online as well, it's like a digital radio, so you can listen to it wherever you are in the world. So John can listen to it in his underwater base in Atlantis, or he can listen to it when he's up in space with Katy Perry. I assume. I'm not sure if you can go digital up in space. I don't know where the digital stops.
I mean, she was
You
only
know what
up
I
there for
mean? Like,
15 minutes, so it would only be able to like a couple of songs at best.
well, then on the way down as well, you get the whole experience. So it's bouncedigitalradio.co.uk. You can listen to it whenever you want. I do my show from 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock on Monday nights, UK time, which is like, what do we say, 4 o'clock?
Yeah, 5 hour difference.
And what
Hmm.
4 o'clock on one of the United States times because there's
Eastern
lots of
Standard.
different times.
Yep, Eastern Standard.
Let's say standard time. Um, it's just I don't know what it is in like Poland or it's probably fucking in the 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
The further away that way you go. Um, but it's really good. You should listen to the show if you like rock music. The last show I did, I had like this whole set list planned out, and then people kept calling in and coming and just reminding me of songs I forgot about. So I was playing those songs instead, and just the whole show fell apart. It was really
Yeah, I
fun.
listened to the last 40 minutes and
Oh, good. Oh, you missed a lot of the show. Really, like the show fell apart like the first half, I think, because people were
yeah.
just saying stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's good," and it was a train wreck. But the last 40 minutes, you probably got some good stuff, did you?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. There was
Yeah,
a lot of good music on there. Like the last song was Queens of the Stone Age, but
it
it
was.
was too long and then it got cut off.
Did it?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, 11 o'clock it just stopped. And
Well, the song
then
itself does that. It just cuts off. It's got
oh
this.
no, this was it felt like it was before the song finished. Like
Oh,
I know the
it,
song and yeah.
okay. Well, that's a shame. But there was a bunch of songs I didn't get to play last week that I'm gonna play next week. Of course, we're saying this when the Queens of Stone Age song was the closing song. That was like a month ago. By the time you hear this episode, there's been loads of other episodes, but you should go and listen to it. BounceDigitalRadio.co.uk. It's really good. If I do say so myself, you can text, you can WhatsApp me while the show's happening, and I can read your messages on the show. I take requests for bands, not for songs, because I'm really picky about the songs they play. But if you give me a band, I can find a song that I like, and I'll play that in the show. Um, that's it. Unless you pick Pearl Jam, in which case I'll definitely play Pearl Jam. And that's all I got going for me.
All right. Well,
So
that will do us for tonight. I hope you all enjoy yourselves. I hope you enjoyed our conversation about the Thunderbolts. Again, if you have any thoughts about the movie, be sure to leave us a comment, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my god, it's a ghost.
He's back.
Go Stuck.